Hello and welcome to Kent Tonight, live here on KMTV. I'm Finn McDermott and here are your top stories on Wednesday, the 4th of February. Union of Universities, the Kent and Greenwich schools have joined together to form a new merged education group. Rescue runner, Walmer RNLI volunteer takes on London Marathon in full boating gear.
On the 26th of April, we're going to be doing the London Marathon. But the slight twist is that we're going to be wearing full RNLI kit.
And a tiring challenge. Broadstairs man takes on an Arctic Ultra Marathon with a unique training routine.
So it's called the Lapland Arctic Ultra. It's just over 500 kilometres across the Arctic, fully self-supported. I'll be pulling a sled.
And for our top story tonight, two universities in the southeast of England have announced a landmark merger that will create the UK's first ever super university. The University of Greenwich and Kent say they've now formally signed the legal agreements needed to create a new higher education group, in a move being closely watched across the sector. Our reporter Naila Mohammed joins us live from the Canterbury campus. So, Naila, first of all, what do we know about this new merger?
Well, Finn, I'm just outside the Templeman Library on the Canterbury campus from the University of Kent, one of the main campuses for the University of Kent. Students are working hard inside, not aware that this university is just one of the two universities that have officially merged together in what's been described as one of its kind move across the UK. Now, the University of Kent and the University of Greenwich have signed and exchanged contracts, forming a new multi-university group called the London and South East University Group, where they'll be serving over 40,000 students, making the group one of the largest higher education providers in the UK.
I see, we can see some pictures of students on the screen now. Tell us, what will this new structure look like, and especially what will it look like for these students?
So the new structure will come into place on the 1st of August. It's just awaiting final approval by the Office for Students. Both universities will continue to operate as distinct academic institutions. They will keep their individual names, their branding and their identities. But students can still apply, study and graduate at each university, University of Kent and the University of Greenwich. But staff will be employed by the new London and South East University Group. However, staff are concerned and they are worried that there will be redundancies, there will be job losses. It's in question at the moment of what will happen for the future of staff as the merger goes into place.
I see, and for a bit of additional context, I'm aware this merger comes a bit of around a difficult time for the University of Kent. Tell me more about that.
Well, that's right. So the University of Kent has been facing some financial pressure in the recent years, which has led to a drop in courses including journalism, art history and music. Now, the University of Greenwich is in a stronger financial situation, so the merger expects to act as a blueprint for those universities across the country facing a similar situation. Now, Professor Georgina Ransley de Moura is acting Vice-Chancellor and President of the University of Kent, and she said, "This is a key milestone that should give our staff, students and partners confidence that this trailblazing new multi-university model is the right one to deliver a bold new approach for universities working together to deliver for the future needs of our communities."
I see. Thank you so much for your time, Naila. Now, the Kent Police and Crime Commissioner is asking the public and professionals to join him in sending a letter to the Prime Minister calling for a ban on social media, a ban specifically for children having their phones in schools under the age of 16. This is ahead of the concluding debate taking place next week in the House of Lords, where he wants to ensure the amendment isn't removed. I spoke to PCC Matthew Scott earlier, and here's what he had to say on the debate. First of all, could you give us a bit of background about this letter to the Prime Minister, all about the potential phone bans in schools?
So there was a cross-party campaign led by Laura Trott and supported by members in the House of Lords, which added an amendment to the Children's Bill, which would require a ban on access to social media for the under-16s and also provide guidance on smartphone-free schools. This is really welcome. The letter was designed to encourage the Prime Minister to keep that in the legislation. It's not government policy, and there's a risk that the government could vote to remove it from the law. So this was a way of local parents, councillors, MPs and others saying to the Prime Minister, please do the right thing and please keep it within the law.
I see, and we have some Kent police data that shows there were 1,810 crimes involving under-16s and an online marker in 2025. What do you think this tells us about what children are experiencing online?
It tells us they're experiencing a greater number of threats from their use of social media and from smartphones. Those crimes have included harassment, malicious communications, extortion, fraud, and indecent images. So there's a wide variety of things happening to young people. But we also know that that's probably vastly underreported. So we need to make sure that we're doing everything we can to encourage victims to come forward, to support them with their needs, but also take action to prevent them being able to access such content in the future.
I see, and I'm aware you've got 865 signatures from Kent residents. Tell me about how you think they'll do in terms of influencing the House of Lords who are currently debating the bill, and how you think the bill's performance will go in general.
I think it's a strong indication of the level of support that there is for this campaign locally. But we also know that the Smartphone Free Childhood campaign have sent over 200,000 emails to MPs as well. So there is a groundswell of opinion from grassroots campaigners, your parents, businesses, teachers, charities, health professionals, child protection professionals, who all think this ban is needed in order to keep our young people safe. I hope the Prime Minister will do the right thing and that his government won't seek to remove this amendment from the legislation.
I see. I think when smartphones were beginning to become something put in schools and that were more commonly used, I think many people say, well, they're for emergencies, they're, in case they might need to contact their parents. What do you make of that kind of argument, that side of it? Do you think that a ban on phones in schools would harm that in any way, or do you think it's definitely worth it to prevent those crimes we mentioned earlier?
I think given the types of devices that they are using, the access and the features that they have, it's gone well beyond having a phone for emergencies. Schools are well connected. If there is an emergency, you can get through to people. There are a lot of features which we call brick phones, for example, which don't have access to the social media platforms and can do that for young people outside of the school. So I don't think that there is much merit in that argument. And it's, I think, a sign of the times where we're seeing crime fall in the physical world, but online crime is rising quite rapidly. And so we put a lot of guardrails around people in the physical space, but online it's a free-for-all. We need to readdress that balance. Social media needs to be banned for the under-16s for that reason, and we need to make schools a safe place where they can be free from distractions from smartphones.
Next tonight, the head of Kent's Department of Local Government Efficiency, or DOLGE, has resigned following a lapse of judgment. Reform UK councillor Matthew Fraser-Moat had been in charge of purging wasteful spending at the council. He announced his resignation on Tuesday in an interview with the Financial Times, after being quoted saying his authority hadn't yet made any cuts. To find out more details, I spoke with our local democracy reporter Ollie Leader earlier. So first of all, Ollie, can you break down the resignation news for us in full?
Well, it's all to do with the head of DOLGE at KCC. That's the Department of Local Government Efficiency. The man is Matthew Fraser-Moat, who was tasked with finding waste and inefficiencies at the local authority. Except, in an interview with the Financial Times, he suggests the authority have not made any cuts, with Fraser-Moat's colleague, Councillor Paul Chamberlain, saying they had made some assumptions about what they would find inefficiency-wise that did not materialise. Well, last night, in a statement from the authority, the cabinet member stated that pressures out of his role at County Hall and running a family business at the same time led to a lapse in judgment, and that his words were twisted to fit an anti-KCC narrative. He has now resigned from his post.
And tell us a bit about the reaction. What have people been saying?
Well, from opposition councillors, they say DOLGE looks dead following this resignation. That's what Liberal Democrat leader Anthony Hook believes, stating it was a waste of money and that this financial year is forecast to end with an overspend of £36.5 million. And it's something the Green Group at the council have expressed as well.
Now, Ollie, is this the end of DOLGE?
Well, if you listen to what we heard there from opposition councillors, the future appears to be uncertain, though KCC does claim it is on course to deliver £100 million of savings this year, and they say they will have reduced the debt by £67 million by the end of this financial year. I mean, when I spoke to the leader of Kent County Council back in January when she announced her draft budget, she said the department had been critical when trying to save money at the authority.
My Dolge team has been absolutely key in finding these savings, because what I enabled them to do when I created that team, again, never been done before in Kent County Council, they had free rein. They could go into every single part of this council. They could poke around, they could ask questions, they could ask to see records.
So, Ollie, one last question. What's next?
Well, we have the budget next week for the coming financial year, but pressure will now be mounting on the administration at KCC. Have they delivered on their promises to find savings? Reform UK believe they have. Opposition councillors more divided.
Well, that is all the time we have for now, but stay with us because there's plenty more to come after the break. I spoke to Kent County Councillor Mark Hood all about plans for Tunbridge and Malling Borough Council to form a town council. We'll also be going through all of our sports news from around the county, including Margate getting a win despite a player having a dislocated knee. All that and more after this short break. Hello and welcome back to KMTV. Next up, Tunbridge and Malling Borough Council recently held a consultation to gather public opinion on the governmental position of the district if they should form a town council. The plan comes with the proposal of delegating 6 wards to be governed by a collective of 18 councillors. Earlier today, I spoke with Kent County Councillor for Tunbridge, Mark Hood, to hear more about it. Thank you so much for joining us, Mark. And I suppose my first question is, for anyone who hasn't heard much about this town council, what benefits would it offer people, and maybe what are some of the potential downsides? Talk us through the whole process and what's been happening.
Well, we had to collect 7.5% of the electoral roll for the affected area of Tunbridge. So we got over 3,200 signatures in, and that triggered what they call a community governance review. Basically, Tunbridge is the only part of Tunbridge and Malling which was what they term as being unparished. So everywhere else had a parish council or a town council. Tunbridge was the only part without. So we wanted that level, that third tier of democracy for our town, because since we had the creation of Tunbridge and Malling Borough Council, we believe there's a democratic deficit, and we think that local people should be making the decisions, because currently the services that would be provided by a parish or town council are provided by the borough council. We pay something called special expenses rather than a precept, and the decision about how that precept is spent, those special expenses are spent, are made by borough councils, effectively the cabinet, none of whom had been residents of Tunbridge. So we think it's an important step.
Now, you mentioned that number there, more than 1,000 people responding. I believe we also had some data about the 2025, December 2025 consultation. That, I believe, received around 897 responses, around 2.17% of the population of Tunbridge. Is that kind of a particularly large or small number for a survey of this kind?
I think you'll find we've had 2 sets of consultations. So the first consultation was bigger than the response was bigger than the second, and what you'll find is when you look we've got similar processes going on in other parts of Kent. So Maidstone and Tunbridge Wells are going through the same process, and their responses have been significantly lower than ours. And it's basically what the council was looking for, and the borough council was very pleased with the responses, with the number of responses that we got, was a clear indication. So a clear indication was in support of town council. So that's where we're making progress, and we're going to be bringing it to the next full council meeting.
I see. Back to those respondents for a moment. Whenever we're talking about politics and government, whether it's at a local level or at a higher level, political engagement is always something that's being discussed. You mentioned there that there is a sample size of people in Tunbridge. How, going forward, is it going to be kind of assured that even those who aren't engaging with politics as much still get their views reflected with this potential new council?
Well, you'll be able to vote for people who share your viewpoint. So we're hoping that I'm hoping that we get a far wider spread of people, candidates. So in some areas you get a whole range of independent candidates coming forward, and I think that would be advantageous. I think we need to cast the net far further, because we need people from a whole range of different backgrounds, not people who are just already borough councillors, because we need to do things differently. We need a council that reflects the town itself.
Next, a mother from Ashford has shared her concerns for her family's health after dealing with leaks and black mould within her home for more than 8 years. Jade Burchell, who shares a household with her 2 young children, has spoken about the conditions inside her home and says she's worried that the mould has begun to gather in her son's bedroom. Ms Burchell also explained how the situation has affected her mentally, and she simply wants her home fit to raise her children in. Town and Country Housing have since apologised and said they will review how the case has been handled. And don't forget, you can keep up to date with all your latest stories across Kent by logging onto our website, kmtv.co.uk. There you'll find all our reports, including this one about a young aspiring Olympian from Kent who was asking for donations to help achieve his skateboarding dreams. In most sports, they say the sky is the limit, but for 16-year-old skateboarding sensation Tay Cunningham, it's actually the ceiling. He's training with one goal in mind, the 2028 Olympic Games in Los Angeles. He's gotten to the stage of his training where he says he needs a vertical ramp to drop in from in order to fight on the international stage, but his local venue doesn't have the space. So he's decided to make his own.
The money for the GoFundMe currently is going towards the LA 2028 Games for me to try and make it to there and just qualify and get better and travel to see all these people that are better than me to inspire me so I can get better at skateboarding and improve. And then also for the vert ramp in my local community. I've currently bought a vert ramp, but I need to fund the money to get new surface for it so that it's long lasting, not just for me, for the whole community, because our current closest vert ramp is in Surrey, and I would love to have one in Kent, not just for me, for the whole community, so everyone can get better and to inspire little kids.
Since he got permission from the town council, the ramp will be installed at Lymington Park in Westgate, but for Tay's dad, it's just another step in a long road for the young athlete.
So Tay, it became really obvious Tay was really good. I mean, he entered a few comps, won them all, and then he went to a nationals comp, and he didn't do that well on the first one, but while everybody else was skating the final, Tay was learning 540s, and he got in the car and said to me, basically, I can do everything they can do. I can honestly say within about 3 months, I could not believe how far along he'd come.
Ted is currently fundraising online and is also looking to run 50 kilometres to raise the $7,000 needed for the ramp, with any additional funds going towards travel, coaching and competitions. Watching Tay, I thought I'd demonstrate how high level he is by having a go myself.
Now it's my turn. Now Tay here has been skateboarding for about 12 years. I have very little experience in skateboarding. I can just about cruise around. I can't even do an ollie. So Tay is going to be taking me to the beginner area to see if I can go down a ramp. Now, how easy is that to do for quite a beginner?
Here at Rev in the beginner room, it's perfect because every ramp's really small, so you should be just fine.
All right, brilliant. Well, fingers crossed.
I think now's a good time to hang up my board and leave it to Tay and the next generation. If Tay wants to make it to the very top of skateboarding, he knows he doesn't just need to ramp up his training, but ramp up his equipment as well. Finn McDermott for KMTV in Broadstairs. And now for all your latest sports news from across the county. First Tuesday night saw Notts County beat the Gills 1-0 as manager Gareth Ainsworth admits they made one terrible mistake from a set piece. The goal came from Scott Robertson, who scored in the first half to upset the Gills' chance of victory, with the goalkeeper only furthering the disappointment with some spectacular saves late on. Ainsworth lamented the defeat, looking to their efforts in set pieces as reasons for their loss, saying we've got to take responsibility because we organised them at set plays. We didn't. That's the penalty we paid. Next, Margate's goalkeeper James Batt put out a brave effort on Saturday, helping secure a 2-1 win against AFC Croydon Athletic, despite suffering a dislocated knee. He suffered the injury midway through the first half, playing the next 65 minutes unaware of the extent of the injury. He only recently joined Margate, coming in after Tom Ray also suffered a knee injury. Despite this, Margate was successful as TT Walters scored both goals in the win at second place Croydon. Ben Greenhalgh revealed we knew he couldn't take goal kicks, but he ended up playing the whole game and doing as much as he could. He admitted after, frustratingly, it sums up our season. Next, Medway were beaten 24-14 by North Walsham in a rugby match. This came after an intense fight with Harrison Fermo's penalty opening the floodgates. Walsham would soon strike back against the run of play with an interception try and conversion. The game lasted at a fast and energetic pace, with Max Bollock and Sipiwa helping the Medway side throughout. Medway pushed late on for a losing bonus point and earned a penalty just inside halfway, yet that failed with the kick drifting wide. 7th place Medway returned to league action at Letchworth Garden City on February 14th. Now, Rhys Prestage, the Sittingbourne manager, says it's a positive that we're still in the playoffs with games in hand, after he tries to keep spirits high following 2 successive match postponements. Saturday's home game against Crowborough was called off and are now due at Sittingbourne this Saturday instead. A section of the Woodstock pitch was deemed unplayable by referee Harrison Clark following heavy rain. It was just one area, which I can understand the referee's point of view, said Priestedge. And finally, Ash Miller returns and looks to be fit and ready after scoring a late winner against Sevenoaks. The 31-year-old returns from injury and took charge, leading a 3-2 victory for Deal Town. He's a fantastic player, being Deal boss Steve King welcoming him back for his second appearance since December. He returns with fellow forward Rory Smith, admitting they have been struggling for goals. Manager Steve King mentioned he gave Ash a little longer to ensure his fitness. That's all for your sports news. Now for the weather. Tonight will be fairly calm with clouds scattered across the county, wind speeds reaching 14 miles an hour. Tomorrow morning some light rain to be expected, temperatures sticking around 6 degrees, 7 in the south, and in the afternoon more rain as temperatures rise to 9 degrees, winds dropping to around 8 miles per hour. Now for your outlook, highs of 10 across the board as we look onto the weekend. Light rain on Friday with some sun peeking through on Saturday, but luckily that rain will clear off by Sunday. Now it is time for a short break, but we'll be back with more news from across the county in just a few minutes. See you soon. Hello and welcome to Kent Tonight, live here on KMTV. I'm Finn McDermott and here are your top stories on Wednesday, the 4th of February. Union of Universities, the Kent and Greenwich schools have joined together to form a new merged education group. Rescue runner, Walmer RNLI volunteer takes on London Marathon in full boating gear.
On the 26th of April, we're going to be doing the London Marathon. But the slight twist is that we're going to be wearing full RNLI kit.
And a tiring challenge. Broadstairs man takes on an Arctic Ultra Marathon with a unique training routine.
So it's called the Lapland Arctic Ultra. It's just over 500 kilometres across the Arctic, fully self-supported. I'll be pulling a sled.
And for your top story tonight, the University of Kent and the University of Greenwich have announced a landmark merger that will create the UK's first ever super university. The schools say they've now formally signed the legal agreements needed to create a new higher education group, in a move being closely watched across the sector. Our reporter Naila Mohammed is in Canterbury's campus at the moment. So, Naila, first of all, what do we know about this new merger?
Well, Finn, I'm outside the Templeman Library on the Canterbury campus, one of the University of Kent's main campus. Students are inside, busy working, unaware that this university and the University of Greenwich have joined forces to create what's been described as a one-of-its-kind move across the UK. Now, like I mentioned, University of Kent and the University of Greenwich have signed and exchanged contracts, forming a new multi-university group called the London and South East University Group, which will aim to serve around 40,000 students. And it's also now the largest group of, the largest higher education provider group in the UK.
I see, we can see some videos on the screen of some of those students. Tell me, what will the new structure look like for them?
So the new structure will come into effect on the 1st of August of this year. We're just awaiting final approval by the Office for Students. Both universities will continue to work independently. They will keep their distinct academic identities, their branding, their nature, their names as well. But in terms of what it means for students, students can still apply and study and graduate at each distinct university. However, staff will be employed by the new London and South East University Group. Staff are slightly concerned because they're unaware what this new merger will mean. Up until now, it has been called a collaboration, but as of today, it's now been called a merger, raising issues and concerns among staffs, particularly when it comes to redundancies within the new merger.
I see, and I'm aware this merger comes amid a difficult time for the University of Kent. Can you give us some more context about that?
Well, that's right. So the University of Kent has faced some financial pressure in recent years, meaning they've had to drop some courses, including journalism, art history and music. The University of Greenwich has a stronger financial backing, and this merger does expect to act as a blueprint for other universities across the UK who are in a similar financial situation. And we've received a statement from Professor Georgina Ransley-Demora, who's acting Vice-Chancellor and President of the University of Kent. And she said, "This is a key milestone that should give our staff, students and partners confidence that this trailblazing new multi-university model is the right one to deliver a new approach."
I see. Thank you so much for bringing us all the latest on this, Naila. Next, hundreds are said to be expected to line the streets for a celebration of life for a former Miss Faversham, Elisha Skinner, who passed away at the age of 21. Miss Skinner lost her life following a car accident on January 5th in High Wycombe, where she was rushed to an Oxford hospital, passing away 3 days later. The celebration of her life will be held this Friday at St Mary of Charity Church in Faversham, where, as I mentioned, hundreds of people are expected to line the streets. Her family have invited mourners to wear pink ties as a nod to her favourite colour, with her parents describing her as someone with a heart of gold and a smile that could light up any room. Next, a motorcyclist in Maidstone saved a driver's life moments before her car became engulfed in flames. Lacey was driving home from work along Lower Road in East Farley when the 20-year-old biker, pictured here William Cluett, began frantically waving at her in an attempt to slow her down. After leaving her car, it set alight within a matter of minutes, with the biker being labelled as a hero and Lacey saying that he saved her life. Firefighters say the fire was likely started by an electrical fault, but the exact cause remains unknown. Now, an iconic building that marks Margate's skyline is at a risk of crumbling and is being declared unsafe by officials. The building safety regulator made the council aware of serious concerns at Arlington House in February last year, and since then the bottom of the building has been covered in scaffolding, all to prevent concrete from falling and hitting the public. The block of flats has been a landmark of the town since it was built in 1963, but a report by the council say it's now posing a risk to residents and the public. Homeowners have hit out at extortionate, their words, service charges for a place that's been described as left to deteriorate. The owners of the building have been approached for comment. Now, Kent Fire and Rescue are relaunching their safety days this week. They'll be knocking across doors all over Kent and Medway to offer free home fire safety checks to hundreds of residents. The visits will last about 10 minutes and firefighters will offer to test, relocate and install smoke alarms where needed. They'll also provide home safety advice tailored to each home and answer any questions. Maisie Walker has more.
Home fire safety visits are a key part of a firefighter's everyday role when they are not responding to emergencies or taking part in training. Kent Fire and Rescue will be offering free safety checks across households in Kent and Medway for the third year running. The initiative launches tomorrow and will run until the 25th of February. It will take place across 4 days, with firefighters and support staff working together to reach as many residents as possible.
Well, this is something we do all the time. We just want to make sure that people are safe in their homes, because everyone at Kent Fire and Rescue Service is committed to making sure that people are safe and that they're living safely with enough smoke alarms in their homes. Teams will spend about 10 minutes in people's homes. And you can expect them to test and relocate any smoke alarms that are already there, or maybe even fit new smoke alarms. It's really important to remember, though, that people will be there in their fire service uniform and that they'll have an ID card on them. Additionally, if people are concerned that they're being subjected to a scan, they can call 0800 923 7000 and just check that the people there are actually working for Kent Fire and Rescue. They can also look out for our branded vehicles, so it might be a van with Kent Fire and Rescue on the side or a fire engine. But it's really important to remember that people are under no obligation to get these. These are free of charge. Our teams will never ask for any bank details or any money, and people can decline them if they want to.
Each visit lasts around 10 minutes. Firefighters will test, relocate and install smoke alarms for free where needed, as well as providing tailored home safety advice and answering any questions residents may have. While the service is voluntary, residents are strongly encouraged to take part to help ensure they are taking the right precautions to live safely and reduce the risk of fire or other emergencies. The main aim is to make sure every home has enough working smoke alarms and that they are in date, as most have a lifespan of 10 years. If a home needs a new smoke alarm, Kent Fire and Rescue will offer to install another one. Maisie Walker for KMTV, Maidstone.
Now, don't forget you can keep up to date with all your latest stories across Kent by logging on to our website, kmtv.co.uk. There you'll find all our reports, including this one about the UK's oldest roller coaster in Margate being shut permanently after 105 years of running.
Dreamland in Margate has been an iconic Kent tourist destination for decades, with its distinctive scenic railway ride being one of the first to catch your eye. Opened in 1920, the ride is Grade 2 star listed, the oldest roller coaster in the UK and one of only 8 scenic railways in the world. It's been through a lot though. Multiple arson attacks and a derailing have been major incidents in the ride's history, but now a new threat has been made against its future, this time by the park operator themselves.
Well, I never had the pleasure to ride the scenic railway for myself. I've seen hundreds of comments from people from Margate and from further afield who say coming here is one of their fondest memories.
From the age of 9, I've been going on the scenic railway, enjoying the rattles, the noises, and just the general feel of the roller coaster. It's just amazing. Not everywhere you can go and ride a 102-year-old roller coaster. You know, it's special. It really is special.
I always say that as a theme park, you could actually get rid of all the other rides as long as you had the scenic railway because of the heritage. And it's part and parcel of people coming on holiday, part and parcel of coastal history.
The decision to retire the ride, Dreamland say, was made alongside Historic England and Thanet District Council, but councillors here told me this wasn't something they were consulted on.
I've heard that people travel from abroad to go on this specific roller coaster because it's got that sort of national and international significance as such an old roller coaster. I hope that if we can get some more oversight into it, we can apply some pressure. It's really difficult because now it's privately owned. The council doesn't actually have any control over decisions that get made there. But I think the outpouring of, well, the outcry about it, hopefully we can put some pressure on for them to keep it open.
They've had so much money over the years. Looking back to like 2015, £15 million was spent rebuilding the railway. I think it's just part of our working class seaside heritage. We didn't want public money to go to Dreamland in 2015 to turn it into a music venue. We wanted to keep our heritage assets. We just need some honesty from Dreamland. Eddie Kemsley, where are you? Please come to scrutiny. I know you're going to try and stop. You're going to say we're a private company, we don't need to come to scrutiny. But in fact, public money went into Dreamland, and there should be accountability because of that.
A spokesperson for Dreamland said it is committed to finding a new long-term plan to reinvent the ride and for it to be enjoyed by future generations in a fresh way. But for many people here, they're hoping the scenic railway has not yet made its final journey. Chloe Brewster for KMTV in Margate.
It's now time for another break, but don't go anywhere. Coming up, we'll take a look at an Oscar-winning actor who's filmed one of the biggest scenes in the new Hamlet movie right here in Kent. We'll also get a close-up look at a member of Walmer RNLI lifeboat crew who's preparing to run the London Marathon wearing his full lifeboat kit. We'll have all that and some more news for you after this short break. See you in just a few minutes. Hello and welcome back to Kent Tonight, live here on KMTV. Now, an iconic moment in a big screen film due to be released this week was captured right here in Kent. Oscar-winning actor Riz Ahmed filmed arguably the biggest scene of the new Hamlet film, directed by Anil Karia in Queenborough-on-Sheppey. Riz Ahmed has taken on the lead role in the film Hamlet, bringing Shakespeare's classic story to the big screen. The actor was spotted on the Isle of Sheppey, where he filmed the iconic To Be or Not to Be between Whiteway Road and the junction before West Street. This isn't the first time Sheppey has featured in a major film production. It also appeared in the 2012 action film The Sweeney. Now, budgeting tricks and nutrition tips, all you need to know about surviving as a student, is coming up in a brand new episode of Student 101. The show is airing right after this at 6:45, and I spoke to Jules Moulton earlier today, one of the show's presenters, to find out some more. So, Jude, tell us a bit about what we can expect on Student 101 tonight.
So today we have a health and lifestyle coach who has come in and basically giving us some advice on nutrition for students as well. Students are great of going out, getting some fast food, and it's really good that she's come in able to talk to us more about healthy lifestyle choices. We have got stuff about nature in there, so you have to tune in and see about that. We've also got a great thing about budgeting, because as students we do suffer financially, I find, and we are struggling because we are new adults. We're just young adults, don't really know how to budget, and it's great that we have talked to an expert on this in the Kent Student Union, which is amazing. So yeah, it was absolutely amazing to hear about all these amazing things for us.
Brilliant, and a little bit of an early look there into exactly what we're going to see. Without too much spoilers, is there any moments that you found were particularly interesting, your personal favourites?
For me, I really like the thing about nutrition. I'm a massive sports kind of guy myself, so talking about nutrition, talking about how to keep yourself healthy and how to keep students healthy is a massive thing. You know, you go grab a meal deal from a random place and it gets unhealthy because all the preservatives. So it's great to have someone come in and talk to us about macros and talking about bulky eating and stuff like that.
Now, did anyone have a New Year's resolution to run a marathon? Me neither. Well, Dan Sinclair from Walmer's RNLI lifeboat station is taking on a mammoth feat. He's set to run the London Marathon in his lifeboat kit. The volunteer of almost 20 years is aiming to raise money for the charity, and it's not his first adventurous challenge to gather funds, as Megan Shaw's been finding out.
Suited and booted, RNLI's Dan Sinclair might look like he's on the brink of another risky rescue. But he's actually preparing for a different kind of endurance challenge.
So in 2 weeks' time, we're going to be doing the Deal Half Marathon, and then on the 26th of April, we're going to be doing the London Marathon. But the slight twist is that we're going to be wearing full RNLI kit.
I thought 26.2 miles for a charitable cause seemed noble enough, until Dan talked me through the very heavy and very warm layers of clothing he'd pledged to do it in.
Full kit consists of a thermal base layer, a dry suit, which has got integrated welly boots with steel toe caps, a life jacket and a helmet. So it's the full kit what the crews go out to help people in the sea. We're going to be running 13 miles and then 2 months later, 26 miles. So it's going to be quite an ask.
But it wasn't all just about dressing up.
Now, Walmer Lifeboat Station is one of around 8 RNLI stations in Kent, and this one here is made entirely of volunteers.
And Dan is one of them, having signed up to volunteer almost 2 decades ago as an 18-year-old. Fundraising to keep the charity he loves going after years of service is only one of the benefits to working there.
It's not my whole life, but it's a big part of my life, you know, and it's the fundraising thing. I get a lot from doing the fundraising and the educational stuff, like teaching. My daughter's 6, so to teach children how to float to live, you know, what to do if they get an emergency, who to call, how to do it, you know, what not to do. And then have them kids come up to you on a Saturday, you know, and be like, Dan, you taught me how to do this. And you might be having a bit of an off day, but when you see a child and you forgot what they look like, because we've educated lots of children, and they know you by name, and they come up to you and say, thank you so much, what you've taught us is really, really great. That just restores everything, and it's like, oh, that's why I do it.
And with just over 2 months to go until the big race, Dan has his sights set on making sure everything is shipshape. Megan Shaw for KMTV in Walmer.
Now, don't forget, you can keep up to date with all your latest stories across Kent by logging on to our website, kmtv.co.uk. There you'll find all our reports, including some beach-themed ones, like the story you're about to see after this. This one's all about a Thanet swim coach who had to shut her swimming sessions due to the cost of a beach trading licence.
Several years ago, Vanessa started open water swimming after a serious spinal injury, taking part for recovery and rejuvenation. To help others, she started running coaching and water safety sessions on Thanet beaches with a small group of people. But after being told she couldn't operate without a beach trading licence, Vanessa had to stop running the sessions, as she said the licensing costs were too expensive and not considerate for her type of business.
Yeah, I find it very unfair because all I'm paying for is to walk down to the beach if I'm on a beach at high tide. So it's quite a short amount of space, but I'm not advertising on the beach. I'm not doing anything on the beach. I'm not having a big group sitting on the beach doing anything like that. And I think it would be much better for small businesses like mine that are just using the beach ad hoc, just maybe having a registration fee. So you do provide your insurances and risk assessments to the council so they know who you are. You get a registration, you pay a registration, and then you just get on with your business.
Now, for a bit of background as to why Vanessa isn't continuing her coaching business, it's simply because she says it's not sustainable. Her work is freelance and very seasonal. She says that during her peak seasons, she earns around £3,000. If you take away the licensing fee and the admin costs, she's only left with about 2/3 of her original income. And she says this is unfair, as she only has to walk across the beach to then use the ocean. So should she pay the fee at all? But officials say this isn't the case, and the fee is entirely necessary.
You can't just rock up anywhere you want. You wouldn't dream of just arriving in one of our local parks, for instance, and starting selling beef burgers off of a barbecue. You wouldn't dream, or it's about the purpose you're working for. Because also the question is it a commercial issue or is it philanthropic? Or if somebody is being rewarded commercially for providing a service, then I think it's only fair that they pay for a licence.
According to a Thanet District Council spokesperson, between May and September 2025, Thanet District Council ran a pilot programme to issue licences for seasonal coastal businesses operating on publicly owned land. The pilot scheme will be evaluated following the end of the summer season, which is October 2025. Feedback received from applicants and licence holders will help to shape the programme and pricing structure for subsequent years. Vanessa is now calling on councillors to review the trading policy in hopes her business can open again, and this time keep its head above water. Finn McDermott for KMTV in Margate.
Next, anyone waking up early in Broadstairs may have spotted someone dragging a tyre across the beach. That man's name is Rob Wilkinson, and he's actually training for an Arctic Ultra Marathon. I spoke to him at Broadstairs Beach, where he trains.
Here in Kent, the weather isn't always our best friend, but one man from Broadstairs seems to have made it his personal enemy. Dragging a tyre from Broadstairs Beach along the coastline to Ramsgate is a regular task for Rob Wilkinson, who was born and raised in the town. The weight of the tyre and the friction of the sand is supposed to mimic the resistance of a sled being dragged across snow. All to make sure Rob is ready for hauling his food, kit and survival gear for 10 days across the Arctic.
So it's called the Lapland Arctic Ultra. It's just over 500 kilometres across the Arctic, fully self-supported. I'll be pulling a sled. It's going to be pretty chilly. They've told me to prepare for temperatures down to -40, which is no joke. It feels a bit like today, I think, but yeah, it's going to be interesting, that's for sure. As I said, I think it's just a combination of constantly pushing myself out of my comfort zone and seeing how far I can go.
Rob's been told by others that the Lapland Arctic Ultra is quite a difficult challenge, but Rob has done others that he hopes will prepare him for the gruelling distance.
So I've done quite a few different endurance events. In 2019 I was part of the No Man campaign, and that was a race with 8 ocean rowing boats, 4-man teams, and over 5 days we rowed across the Mediterranean, or part of the Mediterranean. A couple of years ago I took part in something called the Fat Viking, and nothing to do with how I look. It was an ultra endurance bike ride on mountain bikes with fat tyres, hence the name. And I rode non-stop for 24 hours and 40 minutes. and that was pretty brutal.
The challenge isn't just for Rob to see if he can complete it, but also to raise money for Kent Search and Rescue, as well as Fallen Fields Special Needs School. When he heads off in March, temperatures will reach as low as -40 degrees, and he'll have to cover around 500 kilometres, which is equal to roughly 10 ultra-marathons back-to-back. Naturally, this had me wondering, is training on Broadstairs Beach with a tyre really enough? Well, I would come to regret that question, as well as not checking the weather before I set off this morning.
Well, it's definitely quite heavy, and I can't really imagine dragging this across the Arctic, let alone across Broadstairs Beach.
Finn McDermott for KMTV in Broadstairs. Now for a quick look at the weather. Hopefully a bit calmer than the other day. Clouds scattered across the county tonight, wind speeds reaching 14 miles per hour. Into tomorrow morning, some light rain to be expected. Temperatures around 6 degrees and 7 in the south. And in the afternoon, more rain as temperatures rise to 9 degrees, winds dropping to around 8 miles per hour. Now for your outlook, highs of 10 across the board as we look into the weekend. Light rain on Friday with some sun peeking through on Saturday.